gone. So we came over here east of the mountains, visit a friend of mine. He's got pretty good little junkyard going on here. There's some really neat stuff in there. And as soon as we pulled in the driveway, Barb spotted this. It says 66 Ford half-ton, so F100. She's a 352 4-speed truck. There were very few automatic trucks made, but this is about as fine a specimen of a survivor truck that you will ever find. And she fell in love with it, so I think we got a deal made on it, and at some point this truck is going to come home with us, and this will become Barb's daily driver. I'm not going to even mention how much money. It was a great deal. So my friend picked this up at an auction sale. Supposedly the guy that had this truck had passed away and they sold off a bunch of his stuff. This was his old beater truck. I sure would have liked to seen what his nice truck was. So anyway, we're gonna pop the hood here. Somebody did some engine work on it and they didn't get the camshaft installed right, and it ate the lifters out, and that's why this truck got parked. So my friend put a new camshaft and lifters in it, and it runs real good, sounds real nice. Got a couple of mysteries on this truck. One, according to the VIN code, this is a V8 truck, but it has the 6-cylinder hood ornament on it. We can't figure that out. I don't think it's ever been wrecked and had any body work done on it, so I don't know. Maybe they just like the gear with the lightning bolt better than the V8 emblem. We're gonna pop the hood. He did some really nice work in here when he did it. He's got it all painted up nice and pretty. There's some newer replacement parts in here, but for the most part, this is all original. This is a 352 V8, which was the only available engine.
V8.
Looks like the carburetor must leak a little. We had it fired up yesterday. Yeah, the carburetor's leaking some, so the floats are probably needing some work, but this one, other than it needs a wheel cylinder, this is a driving, running truck.
There were a few things that came up before we could take it home.
And like I said, Barb just fell in love with this one, so at some point it is coming home with us. Yeah, if we make another trip over here, probably just drive one over and drive two back. A couple pieces of chrome missing off the body. I don't know why, but these ones kind of have a habit of coming off.
It's up
and
there.
They're laying on the dash. Unfortunately, the padded dashes on these get sun-baked and kind of go to hell, and they're no longer available. So my 66 Ford has got a cracked one, looks just about like this, but I just put a mat on it, and this one, the headliner's pretty much perfect. This is, like I said, as nice a specimen of a survivor 66 Ford as you'll find anywhere. It is super clean and in super nice shape. I can't find any rust on it anywhere, other than the back bumper's got some rust, which is kind of a weird spot for rust to be. It does have all the hubcaps with it. There's only 2 on it right now, but the rest of them are here. And the weirdest thing is it has 4 white wheels, one of which is in the back with a flat tire on it, and 1 black wheel which is mounted on it. Don't know what that's all about. She's got the optional tow hitch. Like I say, the back bumper got some rust showing here, and she's rusted through here. Don't know if this bumper came off a different truck or what the deal is, but this truck was last licensed and on the road in 2006. So anyway, there you have it.
4 months later.
Are we on? We came over here late last summer and looked around at the junkyard and stuff. There's videos of that. Anyway, Barb found this truck and fell in love with it. So I think I mentioned in the video that we made on the walk around on this truck that it was probably coming home with us. Well, it now belongs to Barb. And we're doing some things to it to make it road ready. Hopefully we can get this thing lined out so that it'll make the, I don't know, 285 mile trek home. Had some brake issues. The guy that we bought it from, he actually put new wheel cylinders in the front. The back actually seems to be just fine. So last night we bled the brakes, set the brakes up, so it's got good brakes on it now. Brake shoes and all that stuff look really good in it, so that should be fine. What else did we do? Oh yeah, we're gonna have to walk through first so that we can open the door and show them what you did last night. So while my friend Simon and I were working, that sounds kind of funny, working on brakes and stuff, Barb went ahead and put the new seat cover in. So the interior actually is pretty nice on this thing. It's got the padded dash. The dash is cracked. They always are from the sun, and unfortunately these are made out of unobtainium. They are no longer available. So on my 66, I ran into the same thing. My dash is actually worse, but I just put the mat over the top. She's gonna do that. We can order new visors, the new door panels. These things just get dry and disintegrate. So they make reproduction ones. The reproduction ones are actually a better quality than what was in here originally. The only thing, the reproduction ones are thicker, and so this chrome strip that runs around here, you have to kind of spread that out a little bit. I haven't figured out a way to do that without leaving some little marks behind, but we're gonna work on that. So anyway, while I was crawling around underneath, working on the brakes, I found that the center U-joint on this truck is just about ready to fall out. So we're gonna knock a new U-joint in this thing and put the driveline back in it. I think everything's road ready, so we're gonna do that, and she's gonna drive it. We're actually working about, I don't know, what, 6 miles down the road. So we're gonna drive this thing back and forth a bit. Yeah, probably take it into town this evening, which is 21, 22 miles away. Put gas in it. I gotta replace the U-joint that I'm borrowing from my friend, so we're gonna just go ahead and buy 2 more U-joints, 3 altogether, so I can replace the one that I borrowed. So we've got all new U-joints to put back in this thing. When we get it home, I'll do the new U-joints. We found the kingpins in the front end are pretty bad, so we're gonna order those up. Maybe I might have a whole nother front end to go under here. Huh?
Talk to the camera.
The shocks are bad. We're gonna have to put shocks on it. It's got some front end issues, some tie rod end stuff. It's nothing that's super bad to affect it from driving home. It might chew tires a little bit and stuff, so we're gonna deal with that as soon as possible. But like I said, I may have a whole nother front end from another truck that was in really good shape that we might just swap under here. It's not really that bad to swap. People get scared of these, but they're not that bad. Yeah, okay, so that'll wrap this up for now until I get the drive line out. And I don't want to bore you guys with pulling the drive line out of this thing, and then we'll bang a U-joint in it, and she can drive it. We'll see how it works for her. Are we on? Okay, so took a little bit to get the little used bolt straps off of this thing to get this out. I don't know if this drive line has ever been out of this truck. This is the very rear U-joint. it's in pretty good shape. This is the one in question. Try to turn it so you can see here. There is just an incredible amount of slack in that. So we didn't want to run this thing 260 some miles, 280, I don't know how far I am from here, without replacing this. The one on the transmission seems to be fine. There is a little slack in the rubber mount of the carrier bearing. Not worried about that to get it home. I've driven them that way for years. Just don't recommend doing any burnouts because that puts a little extra stress on the drive line, and those rubber that the carrier bearings are in can puke pretty easily. So at some point we're gonna drop the drive line out. I actually have another truck right over here that I should have probably checked and see if that carrier bearing's any better, but at some point we'll check that. Maybe before we get out of here this time. Probably won't pull it because we're short on time. But anyway, we're gonna put a new U-joint in this. So to start with, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these caps off, hopefully. Doesn't look like the seal's gonna come with it, so we're just gonna leave the seal on there. And okay, good. All them little needle bearings. This is the original U-joint because those are the big needle bearings. So we're gonna take these off. So while we're beating on this drive line, those don't fall off and lose them needle bearings. This U-joint is showing quite a bit of wear. I don't know if you guys can see, there's grooves worn in there from the needle bearings. So this U-joint is definitely going to have to be replaced as well. But for now, this will get it home. We'll put some fresh grease in there and make sure everything slides good. But we're going to knock this one out and put a fresh one in. I'm using a friend of mine's shop, so I have to just kind of scrounge around, look through his stuff for his tools and see what I can find to bang this stuff in here. He's pretty much got everything you need. One nice thing about this is we are actually working in a shop. We're over on the east side of Montana, and the wind is blowing as it always does over here. It's probably 10-mile-an-hour winds. They'll gust up to about 20 miles an hour, so just being inside of a shop over here makes it really nice. It's a nice sunny day, probably about, I don't know, 30, 35 degrees. With the wind blowing, it feels like it's like 10 degrees out there. So being in this shop makes it really nice. More. So that is where we're at. And now I have to look around and find. I have some special pliers for popping these keepers out. They're really nice. They're little hook jaws. They just pop right out. I doubt he's got that. So we're going to look around and see if we can find a pair of pliers. Vice grips. Maybe those will work. We might have to. Oh, yeah. Where did I go? This. Looks like we have a hammer. Proper tools are very important. It's loose. That one's loose. Try this again. Oh. Yeah, my special little pliers make this job so much easier. Yeah, we're gaining ground. Come on. Yeah. I sure miss my tools. We're gonna have to do something different. That's too big. that one.
So he managed to get the first one off.
Oh, these are just a pain. No matter how you stack them up. That one came loose. Tap is loose again.
Now, does that come with the new U-joint, or you reuse the old ones?
They come with new U-joints. Everything you need. Oh, hey, that one just busted right out of there. That'll make life easier. Maybe, maybe not. Might make life harder.
Whoa, that one flying.
Took off like the flying nun. Alright, let's throw some looby-doob on here. What is this stuff? This is Deep Creep by Seafoam. I'm a pretty big fan of PB Blaster. I'm an even bigger fan of Aerocroil, which has been renamed Croil. The problem with Croil is it's really expensive, but it works. But for this, we're just trying to get some lube on there to help it slide apart. Okay, people do U-joints differently. I don't think I've ever seen two people do them the same. A lot of people use press, a lot of people use sockets and stuff on the vise. I like to do it the quick and easy method. So I'm gonna go find a hammer. All right, I've got me a hammer here. We're gonna tip it this way and we're gonna take the driveline part off first. We're just gonna whack this guy. It's almost out. Flip this around. Tight there. They even make tools. I think a friend of mine's got one. It's called a Tiger tool that you can do this process with. Oh, there's that part out. Now, lay this over here. There was still a little something left in there. Knock that cap the rest of the way out.
What was that?
That's the U-joint cap.
Oh.
No, there was nothing left for bearings in that one at all. This one still had, oh, and this one's been replaced because those are the smaller bearings. I'll be darned. The original ones seems to be outlasting. Anyway, set this off the side. Grab this guy. We're gonna close the vise up to just get on that part. These seals kind of tend to get in the way sometimes. And there we are. She's all apart. She's got lots of schmag in there. Schmag, how, by the way, is an actual term. Schmag is a gooey substance of unknown origin. think that's an engineering term. I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up. I'm not gonna get real crazy about it, because, well, this thing's gonna run around in the dirt, and mud.
Would a wire brush be better?
Probably.
The way there would be one.
I'm just using what's handy here. You know what's handy?
Wire brush. Oh, go figure.
There. You getting that mouse yet? So, we're over here in the middle of, well, not the middle, but we're over here in eastern Montana, in the middle of nowhere, on a, I don't know how many thousand-acre grain farm this is. So they raise, they raise hard red winter wheat here. They raise barley for Molson Coors, malted barley for making beer. Anyway, when you get over in this country and they're raising grain, it kind of tends to generate some rodents, and they are everywhere. There's some things that are wrong with this truck that we'll show you at some point that is caused by the mice. They are horrible little critters. Anyway, the little white dog.
Which is a Bichon by the name of Charlie.
She thinks she is a mouser. So far, the only thing she's done is gotten really dirty and filled herself up with cockaburs.
Here she is. There's Charlie. Charlie.
Behind the camera, Charlie. Switch to a different screwdriver. One thing you want to do is there's a groove. You guys seen where that snap ring came out of there? We want to make sure that that groove is really nice and clean inside. There's no junk in there, so when we put it back together, that snap ring will go right in place. Now, the other thing I'd like to do, I don't know if I can find any emery cloth or anything here, but I would like to clean the inside of this yoke up where the caps slide in with a little emery cloth, because it slides together so much nicer then. And I usually like to put some anti-seize lubricant in. Again, this is not my shop, so I could look for hours to find it, and probably not. Okay.
What is that?
It is brake and parts cleaner. Scared you?
Well, yeah.
Just using this to get all the crud that I scraped loose out of that groove. This stuff really stinks. Non-flammable. How good is that? I watch a lot of the other videos. See guys starting vehicles on brake cleaner and stuff. Not really sure about that. Just watched one where they had a small block Chevy. They started it on brake cleaner, they shut it off. They went to start it again and it was seized up. So I can explain to you what happened on that video. They used brake cleaner to start it. It was a used engine, so there was carbon up inside the cylinders. Starting it with the brake cleaner, which is a cleaner, it's a really aggressive detergent. It washed all that carbon loose, and that carbon fell down on top of the piston, and then when the piston came up, it got wedged in between the top of the piston and the cylinder. They did get it broke free by putting the vehicle in gear and rolling it backwards, but if they'd used a little gas or maybe some starting fluid, I've even used a propane torch. Just put a little propane down there and fire them up. They wouldn't have had to have that issue. By golly, this is looking pretty good. All right, now we gotta find that U-joint that he set out for us. Here, so pretty much all these old Fords take the same U-joint. This fits all kinds of other vehicles too, but anyway, it is a Precision 369, and it was bought at Napa. Other places sell Precision U-joints. They're mid-grade, middle-of-the-line U-joints. Their quality's good. There's no problems with the quality on it. But what we're going to do here real quick is we're just going to make sure that we got the right U-joint. So make sure that the caps match. By golly, that looks like it's pretty good. We're going to pop these off and set them someplace where they'll fall over and all the bearings will fall out. Well, actually, we're trying to keep that from happening. I'll set them up there in that window. We're going to take the old cross and we're going to set it up here and we're going to look at that. By golly, it looks like we're pretty good. That should fit right in there. Okay, now, when you go to put this in here, there is provision for a grease zerk here. So when you go to put this thing in, you want to make sure that you get that grease zerk in a place that's easy to access. This is the front yoke. So I'm just going to show you, if I put that in facing the front yoke, there's quite a bit of room there. Put that in. If I put it in facing the back yoke, well, there's still quite a bit of room, but there's not quite as much facing the back yoke. So we're going to put this guy in facing the front yoke. It's going to give us a little bit more room to get the grease gun in there. We are going to move some more stuff around. We're going to slip this guy. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Slip that guy in there. I'm going to raise him up here and hold him with my fingers. And I'm going to put one of these caps on and get it started down in the hole. Okay. I'm still going to hold this in place with my fingers, and I'm just going to tappy tap. Nice. Oh, that was... This is going in a little stiff because I didn't sandpaper the inside of that out, but it'll go. Okay, we're down to that point. I'm going to take one of the old caps. I'm going to put it upside down on there, and I'm going to use that to beat this in a little farther. I why I like to beat them in too far. Because then that sticks in there. I like to beat them in too far because then when I put this side on, I can stay lined up in the center, get the center piece lined up with the bearings. I can get this one in there and then just tappy tap that guy in there. Okay. Now, here's a problem already. Somehow or another we got bearings out of the whack. So, before we take it in there too far and we ruin everything, since I've just tappied that in, we're just gonna tappy it back out. Make sure, okay, we're into that one. We're into that one, so our bearings look good. We're gonna pop this cap off. Make sure we got nothing sideways. And we're going to start it back together again. Okay, that's in. I'll flip this guy over. This is part of the reason why I drive them in too far. Make sure we got our stuff here. It makes it really easy to put these caps on the first time, and then we're going to drive it back through, or snap rings, I mean. Glasses on so I can see here. We are in all the way. Flip this guy over. I'm going to grab that other cap that fell off there and use it to drive this one in place. I'm using a big hammer here. Probably looks like I'm just swinging for all I'm worth at this thing, but I am not. Guy doesn't need a huge hammer. Where did I put those? Stick it up here. What's there? Okay. Trusty dusty little vice grips here. Yes, it's so much nicer with the proper tools. Okay, we're gonna stick our U-joint cap. Where did I put that? Old cap. That's not the one I was using before. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, we got a socket here. We'll use a socket. Okay. Now she's really stiff. So what we're gonna do, tip her up this way. I'm gonna give her a bump there.
Why?
Go over this way. And give it a bump there.
Why?
Because that loosens this back up.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now we can do this end. Put that in. We're just going to do the same thing we did on the other side. This one's a little bit trickier. I might have to have my lovely assistant hold that right there. Just hold it. Nope. Here, let it drip down. You need to hold it. There you go. Need to hold that. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to drive it in too far. And we're going to rotate it over this way.
You don't need to hold it anymore?
Probably.
Okay.
Snap ring. Rotate this all the way over. Rotate it back. Okay, and so we can get the snap ring in. Same thing, this is gonna be a little stiff. Back up a little bit. And we're gonna hit over here this time. Couple of taps on that side. Couple of taps on that side. And ooh yeah. Very good. And always put these in last. They do make grease or U-joints that are greasable through the cap. Mixed feelings about that. Depends on what you're doing with the vehicle, I guess. In my experience, if you spend a lot of time in the woods or you're off-roading a lot, that those caps get, or those grease zerks get knocked out. That does not want to start in there.
When do you put the grease in it?
After you get the grease zert in, hopefully.
No, when do you put the grease in before you cap it, or?
No. After you get this grease zert in there, then
Oh,
you can
okay.
put the grease in.
Oh, okay.
Put it together first, get the grease zert in. If you have the grease zert in while you're putting it together, a lot of times you'll break them off. Then once it's all together, you can grease it. I don't know, this does not want to start in the hole. Blimey. Why are you fighting me? I have never had this happen before. You know, it's kind of funny. There's a lot of things that I've had go wrong that have never gone wrong before we were doing videos. That is not going to start. How do you like them apples? I think it started there. If I get 5/16. Might have to find a socket to get in here. One more room. No. That's the other thing. We're gonna grease this, and that means we're gonna have to find a grease zert, or I mean a grease gun. And I have no idea where to even begin looking for one. being a farm, you'd think there'd be like 100 of them here, but they're probably in the equipment shop or okay. See if we can find a grease. Okay, we're gonna poke some grease in this thing.
How do you know when you have enough?
It will start to squeeze out around the caps. I mean, the seals. There it goes. Okay. So, if we look, we can see right up in here where it started to squeeze out around that little seal. Did it down here as well. And you know you got enough grease in there. It's gone through everything. So, we're going to tip this guy over. I'm going to pull these. Wow, those are beat up pretty bad. See if I can straighten them out. That's hard. That is actually rubber that's just hard. This thing needs new U-joint on this end too. But, like I said, we're probably not going to put that on just yet. We're going to get it home. Well, guess that's all right. Okay. This has a grease cert in it. Chances of that taking grease is probably slim to none. I don't know, we can maybe poke the grease cert on there, or the grease can on there, see what happens. Oh, hey, it's actually taking some, and it's gonna come up to about there. Didn't put a whole bunch of grease in here. I just had, these things are hollow in the center so the grease can get through. I just wanted to get some in there. Okay, when I took these apart, I set them a special way so I'd remember how they went back together. This one is the one that goes on the side with the grease cert. So I'm gonna put, excuse me, I'm gonna put a little grease inside here. Don't want to fill it all the way up. We're going to put this back on and force the grease in there. And we're going to do the same on this side. This guy over here. Man. So many bits of mess. A couple of squirts of grease in there.
That'll make it so I can get it home okay?
Oh yeah. Probably not.
Just don't.
Okay. A little extra grease that we're going to wipe off.
He's being mean to me.
Okay. So when I took all this apart, I probably didn't tell you guys, and I pulled the drive line off. I oriented it so that the greaser on the slip yoke was facing down. Okay, marked the drive line back there so that this all goes back together the same way. This goes in exactly like it came out. As far as the position where this goes into the yoke, that's not important. It can go one of two ways, but drive lines are balanced. And they are balanced as a unit. So there's another drive line that goes onto this that goes up to the transmission. They have these little weights welded on them here and there because they're balanced. So when you put them back together, you should put them back together exactly how they came apart. Otherwise you might end up with a vibration. So I am gonna actually do something, one more little thing, save myself some time again. This is all gonna come back apart. So I'm just gonna throw a little grease in this slip yoke. When I put it back together, that'll slide in there. Get that yucker out of there. And I'm gonna go put this back in now.
Have fun.
Are we on? Okay, so we're swapping out tires and rims. We're putting snow tires on this thing. We were just gonna, it's got really good tires that it came with. We're just gonna check the air pressure on those and run them, but the valve stem broke off on the first one that I touched. So it's like, you know what, let's not mess with it. Let's put the brand new tires, rims that I painted up on there. And as I'm doing this, I am finding something here. So from the factory, when they put these together at the factory, they put these little retainers on. They just slip on, and then you got to unscrew them. I don't know if you can see those. Anyway, there's one there, one there, one there. They put those on at the factory because when they're coming down the assembly line, there's no tires or wheels on them, and there's little bumps and jumps and stuff, and they don't want the brake drums to fall off. So what this tells me is this has never had a brake job done since it came from the factory. So I didn't look at the mileage on this to see what the miles are, but I am going to have to say if this has never had a brake job done on it, it is probably under 75,000 miles, probably close to 50 because it depends on use, but brakes, I don't know. 50,000 is pretty easy. I have a 1-ton dually crew cab that I pull a 30-foot gooseneck trailer with. I'm usually hauling about 16,000 pounds on it, and I average about 100,000 miles out of a set of brakes. So let's look at the odometer and see what this thing says. Whatever it says, I'm inclined to believe is original miles. We on? There's something else I kind of wanted to point out is the doors on this thing are incredibly nice and tight. It's like zero effort, no noise, door opens, dog jumps in. Anyway, another good indicator for mileage on a vehicle is to look at the brake and the clutch pedals. There is very minimal wear. There's a little more on the brake one, not very much on the clutch. So let's see what the miles say. It says, now if that's original, that would be incredible. It says there's 29,000 miles on this truck. I can't believe that it had engine work done at 29,000 miles, but it's got the factory clips on to hold the brake drums on the rear. The wear on the pedals is easy. These doors are like butter. Unbelievable. This thing is just incredibly clean. Except that dirt. All right, well, we're going to put some more tires and wheels on. Just wanted to point that out.
Getting ready to take her home.